So, hello everybody, and welcome back once again to another episode on Good Company in the Freeplay mode with me, Spacefish, and once more, unfortunately, with me, post-commentary, Spacefish. I have done it again, guys. I have done it again. Dark Rome was this week not around to remind me on stream, and I instantly did it again, and I forgot to unmute the microphone. I made this awesome recording, and well, looks like yeah, you guys are not going to see that live commentary, unfortunately, so I will have to catch back up with you guys this way instead. So if you remember, the previous episode, we did actually take care of well, firstly, proceeding to Market Phase 4 with the cassette player, then developing the Keith 600C for this new Market Phase, and actually pushing it out. Now, as you can see right here, I'm kind of, a bit worried with the potential sales, because they are currently at only 16 a week, while we did manage to consistently sell 18 a week before. But then on the other hand side, I was kind of debating back and forth a bit with assembly time, if I would actually need the 2 extra sales. But if you can see right there, it's really only a difference of like 0.5 days, so I was like, well, that's really not too much, and that is why I am now going back and actually putting like a small teeny tiny discount on the Keith 600C to make sure that we are going to be at those 18 sales a week and hopefully making as much profit as we can. That said though, all this basic stuff is really already taken care of. So first things first, I have a super full inventory, as you all can see down there, which is a bit of an issue, but I've also got a lot of research points up there that I would actually like to use, so I'm actually going to put my Toon over onto the research table first, going to get him to research a bit, and then I'll move him back over later. Now with all that out of the way though, and things powering up quite nicely, doesn't look like we are having any major issues anywhere, fingers crossed, I'm now thinking of what to do next, and the obvious choice is going on another phase with the calculator market, because that thing is already at 423 out of 225 units sold, so very, very overdue proceeding on that market. And I think we are also already pretty low on the overall market rating, which is why we would probably have to develop a new calculator. Before I do that though, kind of just looking through all the other products, and as you can see right here on our pair 1, actually, we were at 19 sales a week, and I had absolutely no clue why, because with our pallet setup, we can only sell 18 a week, so that didn't make much of any sense, so I lowered that discount there right away, squeezing out that last little bit of profit. Now, looking back at our courier bots out here, it does seem like the whole thing is not running perfectly smoothly, but then I actually remembered that I didn't have quite enough input materials to consistently run 2 assembly tables, but I decided to hire a second guy anyways, just cause, well, with the extra few bots that he will make from the overhead that we have from the other tables, he would probably pay off his cost and a bit on top of that, and that's why, we don't quite have the supplies to perfectly run this consistently, but it is overall still pretty nice. Still kind of, looking back and forth at how many we are able to sell, little slight bit of a logistics employee deficiency right there, not delivering those already made courier bots and thus only selling off 7, but overall, honestly, I don't think I was too worried about it, and I didn't actually end up making any major changes here. So, with that said, I should now still be looking back and forth. Still kind of a bit confused apparently as to what the reason was there, but as I said, that was just really kind of the way that I obviously set up that whole production with you guys. So, with that said and done now, I am heading back to the main kind of central plant at the moment, where we have like 3 of our products being made. As you can see right here now, I am progressing the phase of the calculator, currently at a market rating of 3.1 only, with a bit of a discount on it already. And now, with that market proceeding, we're at a market rating of 2.0, which is obviously very, very low. Now, I do start out by putting a very big discount on this product. As you can see, we've only really ever gotten up to 15 a week, which I was kind of, confused about. But I do remember there was a few bottlenecks with that production Anyways though, setting up that discount so we can keep selling calculators for the time being, and then I get myself back into that blueprint that we did already create once, and kind of just checking out if we need to optimize in any places and what we actually need to get a decent market appeal out there. So we're already pretty well set in this blueprint, except for one fact, which is that we don't have any data storage. Now with the current casing, there is no space whatsoever, and I'm kind of debating here what I want to do. If I want to move on with the casing, and I do decide that I do want to, then it's kind of the question between like plastic cases and wooden cases, and wooden cases are kind of a bit more complicated because you need metal sunrays, so you will actually need one table for metal rods and one table for metal sunrays. Well, for the plastic case, I only need plastic parts, so that's one less table to make that plastic case, and I really only need these precious 2 slots for data storage. So plastic casing, I tried out, it works perfectly fine, and we're even getting a lot of slots from it. Honestly, we're even getting 4 slots from it, so I don't really quite need as many. I just get 2 slots of that used with my data storage module, and well, there we go. Everything kind of fulfilled pretty nicely. Max price of 840 and a market appeal of 4.3 right there, so something I think we can work with very nicely. That said, I take a quick look at appearance as well, because as we are making a new model, you know, I feel it is kind of time for a bit of a redesign as well. So I go through the colors a bit, but nothing really tickles my fancy at all. I think it just all looks a bit weird, to be honest. So I go for the Stretch Tech design instead, which I do feel it looks pretty cool. So that said, that is going to be our design then, and now we will have a look at what we will actually need to get this thing up and running. Not quite sure what I'm doing right there, but we should hopefully, theoretically, potentially end up at our blueprint, or not. I'm really not quite sure what's happening here. Okay, there we are. Texas Instruments Mark II. So we just need to check out what kind of parts we need. I do think that, yeah, we had battery stacks set up already, so don't need to take care of those. But we will need to take care of the LED matrices. We will need to take care of the register banks, and we will need to take care of the simple circuit production, as well as actually not outsourcing, but upgrading our production for the casing. So there is quite a lot of tasks lying ahead of us here that we will actually need to take care of. So kind of deciding on what to do first here. Battery stacks, as I said, already well and nicely set up. LED matrices, on the other hand side, will need a few inputs. We will need plastic parts for those. We will actually need circuit boards for those as well. So that is quite complicated. And then you have to take into account that we will need 2 tables actually making LED matrices as well, because we are working with 2 tables for final assembly. So I think we've got currently 3 LED array tables going, so we can swap one of those over to circuit boards, and I think that is also what I end up doing, but we will definitely need 1 table for these plastic parts. And as you may remember, we also needed plastic parts for the casing, but I'm not actually 100% sure that we will get enough plastic parts out of one of these tables, so I do think that we will actually end up with 2 separate tables for this stuff. Now, getting started though, I do decide that I do initially want to take care of that casing production, as it is really quite simple. I can keep those 2 tables up that I have running for the simple casing. At the moment, I just really add 1 table for the plastic parts, employ 1 worker, add another shelving rack, and then we are pretty much good to go, right? We just need to actually eventually swap over the casing eventually, and then that will be totally fine. Now the other stuff, I'm also very much still trying to cram into here, but this will turn into a big game of Tetris very soon, because as you guys can all see, there's really not a lot of space left in here, and we do need a good bunch of stuff, so that will actually be a very tight fit for us. Anyways, though, regardless, we go back and we make another basic workbench, because as I said before, we do need plastic parts for these LED matrices as well, and we will not have enough leftovers from the first table to actually take care of the other production. Now I'm moving kind of a few of the decorations to the side, you know, just getting those last few spaces in that we need so that people can actually still move through, getting the small shelving rack in, hiring a worker, and that part is done. Now, as I said, we actually need to swap over one of these chemistry tables down there. I'm not quite sure I'm taking care of that right now, though, because for the time being, I really kind of want to keep the current calculator production up and running the way that it is, so that we can still continue making a profit, even if something will end up holding us back. So I don't really want to swap things over before I've totally completed everything that I need for this production line, if that makes sense. So that said, next thing I am apparently looking at is going to be the register banks, for which I need electronics workbenches, and I'm not quite sure whether I actually need 1 or 2 of those. I would be thinking that I am going to need 2, but as you can see, it's kind of a struggle for space at the moment. I do manage to cram 1 in right about that corner, so I do end up choosing that one. I think it's already a very, very tight fit, but people can still move around where the pallet is, and then the second one goes there, and I still manage to make it fit somehow. But at this point I kind of run into the challenge of where do I actually put that small shelving rack, so kind of giving that a bit of a hard thought. And I do think that I end up, I just place it there, and it does somewhat leave an open space. Does mean that the workers will not quite be fast enough, but it should still somewhat be fine, because, well, I mean, I think they are producing a bit quicker than what will be our actual assembly time in the very end. Now, looking back at the blueprint, as you can see right here, battery stacks taken care of, simple circuits not taken care of at all yet. And this is where I really start to see that this whole Tetris game may actually end up not working out. For the time being, kind of looking down here, because I was hoping I could face out one of these battery stack tables, but then I remember that there's actually no chance of me doing that, because we do need 2 battery stacks per calculator, and we have another assembly table for the calculator, so we theoretically would even need another one to perfectly fulfill the demand. And, well, while, you know, the build time is getting a bit longer this time around, it's still not long enough to even fulfill it with 3 tables, so no way of phasing something out right there. Then that other table down there is obviously reserved for the circuit boards, which I also think I need circuit boards for the matrices and the simple circuits, so I was hoping that I could actually just deliver those circuit boards from that one table to both, but I do think that did not end up working out either. So what I basically ended up needing was another 2 tables for simple circuits and another table for circuit boards. So a lot of stuff really to take care of right there. Before the time being, actually just taking care of the LED matrices. As you guys know, plastic parts I already took care of, and, well, circuit boards I am just looking at how much I need there right now. And it does actually seem that we would be making enough circuit boards from one of these tables. As you could see right there, we only need 1 circuit board for each LED matrix, and we only need 1 circuit board for each simple circuit, and we are making 5 within that same time frame that we need 4. So we would be very fine there, but it does end up really being a bit cramped overall. So what I end up deciding is I actually want to start using that side building right there, because I mean, honestly, we've got it anyways already, and we may as well just start also utilizing it. So I do erase part of this logistics zone just because I'm not 100% sure if I'll keep this building only to the calculator assembly or if I'll actually end up using it for anything else. So for the time being, having that logistics zone, getting to electronic tables set up, totally forget to actually set a product up, I think, but it will be the simple circuits down there. No, actually, wait, we've got the simple circuits set up there. I'm totally confused the two. So it will then be the actual register banks? No. I'm pretty sure this will actually be the simple circuits. We do currently have the simple circuits set up at the top left. I was intending that to be the register banks, and the one down in this new building to be the simple circuits, I'm pretty sure. But I do think that in the end I end up staying with this setup, just cause that way I will have the circuit boards in one room. But let's find out together if that is actually going to be the case, or if I'm just wrong right there. That said, kind of just looking back and forth a bit, and I see a big issue right here. Now the thing is that you guys may all see that I don't have space for another courier pallet in this old building, so I can't work with couriers, and I would like to actually work with my first conveyor setup. But, as you can see down here, I have actually blocked off my conveyor entrances. So I'm in kind of a precarious situation here, and I have to go to some next level Tetris games to actually try and fit everything into the last millimeter of this factory. So I do end up moving the whole plastic parts setup about the place a bit. I just end up placing that shelving rack right there because there is other ways to access everything else, so that is very much still fine, I hope. And that way I do end up freeing up a tiny bit of that entrance area. Now, the thing also is, I don't have any conveyor parts whatsoever just yet. And I've never made a setup for it. I haven't made anything manually, so kind of contemplating a bit here what I will actually want to end up doing. As you can see right here, I put simple circuits in there too, so I actually got confused twice, once while recording this and once while recording my post commentary on this. But yeah, so I do end up actually setting this up on both sides, and then I change it back on one. So let's see which one that will be. That said, I do now check out what I actually all need for conveyor parts. So you can see I need metal rods, I need gears, and well, I need plastic. So that is actually quite a bit of a setup. That does mean that I will need 3 tables for these kind of things, and if I was to do that all manually, that would be a lot of work. So what I decide to end up doing is that I'll just set up a small assembly array for conveyor belts, or for conveyor parts, in this factory part as well. I will hire 3 people for it. I will have them go at it for a while, and basically I will just go and get myself like 2 or 3 stacks of conveyor parts, and well, then I'll just fire the people. I mean, really, as I already said in the video as well, I think really not the best practice for a good company, you know. But yeah, so I will just pretty much go back and forth, like employing and firing these guys just based on my needs, so that I can have a little setup where I can actually get some conveyor part inflows that I can then use, but not spend money on it all the time when I don't actually need them. And well, I really like that idea overall. I mean, the thing is that at this part of the game, we are probably slowly but surely going to start to use more and more conveyors as we expand out to other parts of the factory. And, you know, I don't want to pay the money for the courier all the time, so that's definitely a nice option. But that also means that we do now need some sort of setup to actually keep that stuff flowing in. So with that said and done, I actually go back and I change these things to register banks now, which does make a lot of sense if you think about it, because obviously we have got the circuit boards in the other building where they can be shared without needing another table, and the register banks are really super simple in what they need. And now I'm going back and forth with the logistics, and I must say this was kind of a bit of a frustrating part for me, because I was just going back and forth, and like everything always keeps being set up as logistics only for me, and I absolutely don't understand why. I mean, you know, the conveyor parts and the register banks, I totally understand, because that's like final products, those have nowhere to go at the moment, but then that stuff is slightly annoying. And now I've got this issue again. I think we had it in campaign mode already, where if you accidentally delete an in on a table in automatic mode, you can't reset that in, so you have to go back to manual, then to auto, and then all your changes get thrown out the window again, which is super frustrating for me, I have to say. So I try not doing that anymore, but if that ends up happening, that's always kind of annoying because the whole logistics zone goes kabloom, or you have to go back to manual and never come back to auto. So slightly annoying, and that's also why I think in some of these videos I do now end up swapping to a bit of more of manual logistics work again, because that actually starts taking a lot of time of me just going back and forth between the modes, and just ends up not becoming not worth it anymore, rather. So that said, I am still working on setting these things up, and for some reason these things just keep appearing in the flippin' palettes. Like, I get rid of it, and, you know, then I go down to the palettes, I delete it from logistics only, and then it turns up in the palette again, and the whole connection is back there, and it's kind of annoying, and I don't really quite know what to do about it. I just end up leaving it like this eventually and just honestly call it a day. So now I'm kind of contemplating about if this conveyor thing will actually fit. I'm kind of unsure. I'm just, you know, moving this lamp about the place just so we can actually still have people move next to the conveyor. Well, what is it called? Well, the conveyor, you know, the end part of the conveyor where, like, the logistics workers can come and pick stuff off the conveyor. I just want to assure that people can still walk past that with no issues, so I do end up moving that decoration about the place a bit. Now, I actually check back up with my guy, and he's still researching away, but I actually will need some inventory space so that I can actually end up using these conveyor parts to build ourselves some conveyors. So what I end up doing is, even though I still have a lot of research data, I do walk back up, and I do end up getting the beeper into his inventory, no, not into his inventory, but into the research queue, so that we will get a few slots in the inventory. And now, I really just go back and kind of check that everything works as intended. Obviously, I mean, I have to say I really kind of enjoy, you know, just these workers working away at things sometimes, but at the start of things, after you get the new setup going, I think it does make a lot of sense to just check back for a few seconds to see if everything's working out. And now I go back to this zone, and I just discover all this stuff as well. All this super annoying, unnecessary stuff that I get, yeah, kind of annoyed about, because you've got the simple circuits in there, you've got the circuit boards in there, you've got the plastic parts in there, things that don't need to be a logistics-only connection in the palette at all, that already have a logistics connection to other shelves, just end up in the square palette, and I got pretty mad about it. And this is where I start swapping these things back and forth, and you can see here, right, I delete the logistics only connection, and it pops back up down there, and then the connection is actually back up. Do you guys see that? That's what I was talking about earlier. I'm super annoyed about it. I've got absolutely no clue how to fix it, and I end up going back and forth. I'm not sure if I actually end up going back and forth between manual and auto, or if I just go to manual and call it a day. I think I actually chose the latter in the very end, because I was like, okay, this honestly has to stop. And I just went back to manual, deleted those logistics only roles, and look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. No worries, no issues anymore, and we are good. So with that said, still waiting for those conveyor parts, and I do think it will actually take a good bunch of time for those employees to make us all the conveyor parts that we will need for this setup. So I just go about checking a few things, and we've got all these random exclamation marks out here, which I really don't like, and we are actually missing connections, so that's kind of a bit confusing, and I do end up, you know, trying to fix that a bit, because that all is very annoying. I really don't like it, but well, with the auto connections now gone, I need to take care of fixing that, you know. I mean, the thing is, the auto connections like throwing things back and forth a bit, which don't always need to be the case, like the plastic parts from the LED arrays went up to the cases as well, and vice versa with the other plastic parts. They're really not too great on that side of things. But that said, everything else seems to be running rather fine. We are also getting our first few conveyor parts in, so pretty happy with that overall. This whole conveyor part connection honestly is kind of unfixable too, but I just say, okay, whatever, and call it a day. Just up the bandwidth right there to ensure that we have a bit of space, and call it a day right there. But with that said, I think this is also, after starting the research, why I do end start ending the episode, because obviously we need to wait for these conveyor parts. And what I will actually do in between episodes is I will wait for these employees to make ourselves some of these conveyor parts, so you guys will not have to wait for that, or at least I will take care of that with a little cut at the start of the next episode. So that is it for me then as well for post-commentary Spacefish. I do hope you guys enjoyed this for a change, and if you did, please make sure to hit that like button down below. That does always very much support the channel. And if you're new around here, enjoyed this episode and would like to stay around for more of this type of content, also definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, as well as the bell icon right next to it to stay up to date on any future upcoming episodes. That said, as always, I'd like to thank you all very much for watching. I hope you'll have a great week, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Ciao.